7 years of bad luck. A black cat is crossing a dark street. Salt is spilling across a wooden table. Calendar flipping to Friday the 13th. You avoid cracks in the sidewalk. You knock on wood 3 times. You throw salt over your shoulder. But have you ever stopped to ask why? Where do these fears actually come from? Why have they survived wars, revolutions, and the age of reason itself? And what if I told you that almost everything you believe about superstitions is wrong? Humans are pattern-seeking machines. For 300,000 years, recognizing patterns kept us alive. That rustling in the grass could be wind, could be a predator. Our ancestors who assumed danger survived. The ones who didn't, they became part of the pattern themselves. But here's where it gets strange. That same survival instinct that saved us became our curse. Because our brains don't just see patterns, they invent them, even where none exist. In the 1940s, psychologist B.F. Skinner discovered something disturbing. He placed pigeons in a box that dispensed food at random intervals. Within hours, the birds developed elaborate rituals, turning in circles, bobbing their heads, pecking in exact sequences. They believed their actions caused the food to appear. Skinner called it superstitious behavior. Now look around. We are those pigeons, spinning in boxes we built for ourselves. But superstitions aren't just psychological accidents. They're stories, warnings passed down through generations. And behind every superstition is a moment of real terror. Some were invented to protect children, others to control populations, and a few might be trying to warn us about something we've forgotten. So let's go back to the exact moments these fears were born and discover what our ancestors were really afraid of. 7 years of bad luck. It's probably the most famous superstition in the world. But here's what nobody tells you. The 7 years part was invented by ancient Romans as a sales tactic. Let me take you to Rome. 1st century AD. Mirrors were insanely expensive. A single polished bronze mirror could cost a year's wages. When someone broke one, they'd be financially devastated for roughly 7 years, the time it took to pay off the debt. So Roman mirror makers spread a rumor. Breaking a mirror doesn't just cost you money. It curses your soul for 7 years. Brilliant marketing. But the fear goes deeper, much deeper. Ancient Greeks believed mirrors didn't just reflect your face. They captured part of your soul. Break the mirror, and you shattered your spirit. The Romans believed the soul renewed itself every 7 years. Break your reflection, and you'd have to wait for the complete cycle. Medieval Europeans believed something even darker. Mirrors were portals, windows between worlds. When someone died, families would cover every mirror in the house, not out of respect, but because they believed the dead soul might get trapped in the reflection, unable to move on, forever watching the living. Modern psychology has actually proven that mirrors change our behavior. When people can see their own reflection, they're more honest, more self-aware, and less likely to cheat or steal. Maybe mirrors really do reveal something true about the soul. As for the curse, in 2008, researchers at the University of Hertfordshire tested whether breaking mirrors causes bad luck. They broke 2,000 mirrors and tracked the participants. The result? Absolutely nothing happened, unless you count the participants who believed in the curse. They reported more bad luck, more accidents, more problems, because they were looking for it. The curse wasn't in the mirror. It was in their minds. Friday the 13th. In America alone, Friday the 13th costs the economy between $800 and $900 million every time it occurs. People don't fly. They don't buy homes. They don't get married. They hide. But here's the thing. This superstition? It's barely 100 years old. The entire global fear of Friday the 13th was invented by one man in 1907. His name was Thomas Lawson, and he was trying to sell a book. Thomas Lawson was a stockbroker who had written a thriller about a businessman who deliberately crashes the stock market on exactly Friday the 13th. The book became a bestseller. Within years, the idea spread like a virus. Hotels stopped numbering the 13th floor. Airlines removed row 13, and people started blaming every misfortune on this newly invented unlucky day. But Thomas Lawson didn't invent the fear from nothing. He combined two separate old superstitions. The number 13 had been considered unlucky in Christian tradition because of the Last Supper. 13 people at the table. The 13th guest was Judas. Jesus was crucified the next day. Friday was considered unlucky because that was the day of the crucifixion. Lawson just combined them and accidentally created the most powerful superstition of the modern age. But here's where it gets really strange. For most of history, Friday wasn't unlucky at all. It was sacred. The Vikings named it after Freya, goddess of love and fertility. It was the best day for weddings, harvests, beginning journeys. In medieval Europe, Friday was market day, the busiest, most prosperous day of the week. So what changed? The Catholic Church. They deliberately turned Friday into a day of fear, not just because of the crucifixion, but because Friday was pagan. It belonged to Freya, to feminine power, to the old gods. By making Friday unlucky, they could control when people worked, when they celebrated, when they felt safe. As for the number 13, that has an even darker history. Many ancient cultures used lunar calendars with 13 months. 13 was the number of the goddess, of feminine cycles, of the moon itself. When patriarchal religions rose to power, 13 had to be destroyed, made evil, made unlucky. The number of the goddess became the number of the devil. Dutch researchers analyzed 60 years of data and found that Friday the 13th is actually safer than other Fridays. Fewer accidents, fewer injuries, fewer deaths. Why? Because people are more careful. They drive slower. They pay more attention. They stay home. The superstition doesn't cause bad luck. It prevents it. Maybe that's what superstitions were always for. Not predicting the future, but changing it. A black cat crosses your path. You stop. You wait. Some of you turn around completely. But you're terrified of the wrong thing. Let me take you to Egypt, 3000 BC. Black cats weren't unlucky. They were gods. The goddess Bastet took the form of a black cat. Killing a cat, even accidentally, was punishable by death. When a family cat died, the entire household would shave their eyebrows in mourning. Egyptians believed cats could see into the spirit world. Their eyes reflected light in the darkness. They moved without sound. They were clearly magical. For thousands of years, this reverence continued. Cats were valued across Europe, Asia, Africa. Especially black cats. Their dark fur made them perfect hunters at night. Then, in the year 1232, Pope Gregory IX declared something that would kill millions. Black cats, he announced, were instruments of Satan, witches' familiars, demons in animal form. Almost overnight, black cats went from divine to demonic. And then came the purge. Across Europe, black cats were slaughtered, thrown from towers, burned alive, sealed into walls of buildings as they were constructed. We still find their skeletons today, trapped in the walls of churches and homes. But here's the twist that makes this a true horror story. With the cats gone, the rat population exploded, and the rats carried fleas, and the fleas carried the Black Death. Between 1347 and 1351, the bubonic plague killed between 75 and 200 million people, 1/3 of Europe's entire population. The very superstition created to protect people from evil unleashed the greatest catastrophe in human history. Historians now believe that if Europe had kept its cat population, the plague would never have spread so far or killed so many. The cats were trying to save us, and we murdered them for it. Sailors considered black cats the luckiest creatures on Earth. Every ship had a cat, preferably black. They protected the cargo from rats, but more than that, sailors believed they could predict weather, sense storms before they arrived, guide ships safely home. In Japanese culture, black cats bring good luck. The Maneki Niko, the famous beckoning cat, is sometimes black, specifically to attract good fortune and ward off evil spirits. In Scotland, a black cat appearing on your doorstep means prosperity is coming. The bad luck belief? That's almost entirely American and British, imported from the witch trials, a cultural virus that never died. Even today, black cats are the last to be adopted from shelters. Some shelters won't even allow black cat adoptions near Halloween, fearing ritual abuse. We're still killing them. We just do it slower now. Knock on wood. You've done it 1,000 times, maybe without even thinking. Say something good about your life, and you instinctively knock on wood. But why wood? Why 3 knocks? And what exactly are you trying to do? This superstition is older than recorded history. Before cities, before agriculture, before even language as we know it, humans worshiped trees. The Celts believed trees housed spirits, powerful entities that could grant protection or unleash curses. When you knocked on a tree, you weren't just touching wood. You were waking up the spirit inside. Oak was the most powerful. It drew lightning, proof that gods lived in its branches. Touch oak, and you touch divine power. But here's the pattern across dozens of ancient cultures. You didn't knock to attract good luck. You knocked to apologize. Germanic tribes believed that boasting angered the gods. Say something good about your life. Healthy children, good harvest, successful hunt, and you'd painted a target on your back. The gods were jealous. They'd notice your happiness and destroy it, unless you knocked on wood to alert the tree spirits. The tree spirits were protective. They'd hide your boast from the gods, make them forget they heard you. When Christianity spread, the church couldn't eliminate the practice, so they changed the story. Now you knocked on wood to thank God for blessings. The wood represented the cross, the crucifixion. But even then, people still knocked 3 times. Why 3? 3 is the most magical number in human culture. The Holy Trinity, the 3 fates, 3 wishes, 3 strikes, 3 tries. Modern psychology suggests 3 is the minimum number needed to establish a pattern. Our brains recognize 2 as a coincidence. But 3? 3 is meaningful. 3 knocks seal the ritual. Make it real. Athletes are the most superstitious people on Earth. Basketball players who knock on the court before free throws shoot 12% better than those who don't. But here's what's fascinating. In 2013, researchers discovered that performing superstitious rituals actually changes your brain. Knocking on wood reduces anxiety, increases confidence, and improves performance. Not because magic is real, but because the ritual gives you control. Even if that control is an illusion. The wood isn't protecting you from jealous gods. It's protecting you from your own mind. You spill salt. For just a second, your heart stops. Then, without thinking, you grab a pinch and throw it over your left shoulder. But do you know why it has to be your left shoulder? Or what you're actually throwing it at? According to medieval Christian belief, the devil stands behind your left shoulder, always waiting for you to sin, waiting for your guard to drop. Your right side belonged to God. Your guardian angel stood there, protecting you. But your left side, that was hell's territory. When you spilled salt, you'd given the devil an opportunity. Salt was precious. Wasting it was a sin. And the devil was right there, ready to collect your soul. Unless you threw salt in his face. Throw salt in the devil's eyes. Blind him. Give yourself time to repent. But the fear of spilled salt goes back much further. In ancient Rome, salt was literally money. Soldiers were paid in it. The word salary comes from sal, the Latin word for salt. Spill salt, and you are throwing away your wages, your survival. People died mining salt, thousands of them. In ancient China, salt mine slaves were worked to death. In Europe, being sent to the salt mines was a death sentence. Every grain of salt represented human suffering. At medieval feasts, your position relative to the salt cellar determined your social rank. Above the salt meant nobility. Below the salt meant you were common. Peasant, knock over the salt, and you disrupted the entire social order. Chaos, disrespect. Bad luck wasn't mystical, it was political. In Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, Judas Iscariot is depicted knocking over a salt cellar. It's one of the painting's most overlooked details. Da Vinci was marking him as the betrayer before the betrayal even happens. The spilled salt was the prophecy. Today, salt costs almost nothing. You can buy a lifetime supply for a few dollars. But the fear remains. Because superstitions don't die when the danger ends. They evolve, transform, find new meanings. You're not afraid of wasting money. You're not afraid of the devil. You're afraid of not throwing the salt. Afraid of what happens when you break the ritual. You will walk around it. You always do. But this superstition isn't about bad luck. It's about a warning that saved lives. Medieval Europe. The year is 1347. A painter is working on a church facade. His ladder leans against the wall. His paint bucket balances on the top rung. Walk under the ladder, and you might die, not from a curse. From fallen tools, paint, stones, or the worker himself. The superstition was practical. Survival advice disguised as magic. But humans needed a reason to remember. Fear of bad luck works better than fear of injury. Ancient Egyptians added the mystical layer. A ladder leaning against a wall forms a triangle. The triangle was sacred. It represented the Trinity of gods. Walk through the triangle, and you've broken a divine shape, disrespected the gods, invited chaos into the cosmic order. Christians added their own meaning. A ladder had been used to take Christ's body down from the cross. Walking under a ladder meant walking through the cross itself. That is blasphemy. In medieval Europe, condemned criminals were often made to walk under a ladder on their way to execution. It marked them as cursed, already dead in the eyes of God. Soon, walking under a ladder became synonymous with death itself. Modern safety regulations literally require you to avoid walking under ladders. OSHA guidelines state that the area beneath a ladder is a hazard zone. The superstition became law. Every year, over 500,000 people are injured by ladder accidents. About 300 die, not from walking under them, but from ladders collapsing, tools falling, workers slipping. Maybe your ancestors weren't superstitious. Maybe they were just smarter than we give them credit for. Someone is staring at you. You can feel it. The back of your neck tingles. Your skin crawls. You turn around, and there they are, looking directly at you. That feeling? That's not superstition. That's evolution. For millions of years, being watched meant being hunted. Our brains evolved to detect when we're being observed. It's called gaze detection, and it works even when you can't see the person watching you. In experiments, humans can sense when someone is staring at them from behind with about 70% accuracy. We don't know how, we just can. But in dozens of ancient cultures, being watched didn't just feel wrong. It could destroy you. Ancient Greece, 500 BC. A successful merchant suddenly falls ill. His crops fail. His children develop fevers. His wife loses a pregnancy. The healer's diagnosis? Madi, the evil eye. Someone envied his success and looked at him with jealousy. That jealous gaze carried a curse. This wasn't unique to Greece. From Turkey to Egypt, from Persia to Morocco, from India to Mexico, almost every ancient culture developed the same belief independently. Why? Because envy is universal, and envy makes people stare. The solution? Fight eyes with eyes. The blue eye amulet, the Nazar, doesn't protect you from evil. It distracts it. The evil eye sees the blue eye and stares at it instead. The curse is reflected back to the sender, or absorbed by the amulet, which shatters, taking the curse with it. When a Nazar breaks, people don't throw it away casually. They bury it, or throw it in running water, because it's now carrying the curse that was meant for them. Italians call it malocchio, the bad eye. They have dozens of rituals to break it. Olive oil dropped in water, salt thrown in fire, specific prayers said at specific times. Jewish tradition calls it ayan hara. To avoid it, you never openly praise a child. You might say, "May the evil eye stay away," after any compliment. In Latin America, mal de ojo is taken so seriously that there are professional healers, curanderos, who specialize in removing it. The ritual involves eggs, prayers, and smoke. Modern psychology has a name for the fear of being watched: scopophobia. Millions suffer from it. Your brain has specific neurons that activate only when you see eyes looking directly at you. They're called gaze detection neurons. They're in your amygdala, the fear center of your brain. When someone stares at you, your brain literally treats it as a threat. Today, we're watched constantly. Security cameras, social media, phones, satellites. The evil eye isn't a superstition anymore. It's real, and it's in our lives. And maybe the ancient fear was never about magic. Maybe it was about what humans become when they're always being watched. Let's separate the real history from the invented fear. Myth. Breaking a mirror causes 7 years of bad luck because it traps your soul. Reality. Ancient Romans invented the 7 years part as a sales tactic. The soul belief came later from multiple unrelated cultures that all feared reflections for different reasons. Myth. Friday the 13th has been unlucky for thousands of years across all cultures. Reality. The combined fear of Friday the 13th was literally invented by one author in 1907 to sell a novel. Before that, Friday and 13 were separate superstitions that weren't even consistently feared. Myth. Black cats have always been associated with bad luck and witchcraft. Reality. For 5,000 years, black cats were sacred. The bad luck belief was created by the Catholic Church in the 13th century to suppress paganism, and it accidentally caused the Black Plague. Myth. Knocking on wood attracts good luck. Reality. It doesn't attract luck. Was used to apologize to tree spirits for boasting, preventing jealous gods from noticing your happiness. The 3 knocks specifically seals the protective ritual. Myth. Breaking a wishbone grants wishes because of ancient magic. Reality. The Romans invented it as entertainment at dinner parties. The wish part was added in the 1600s. Before that, it was called a merry thought and had nothing to do with luck. Myth. The evil eye is a deliberate curse cast by witches or evil people. Reality. Most cultures believe the evil eye is accidental, caused by envy or admiration, even from good people who don't mean harm. That's why you protect babies from everyone's gaze, not just enemies. But here's what science has discovered. Superstitious rituals actually work. Not because of magic, but because they reduce anxiety, increase confidence, and give humans a sense of control. Studies show that athletes who perform good luck rituals before competing improve their performance by an average of 15%. Students with lucky charms score higher on tests. Not because the charms are lucky, but because believing they're lucky reduces test anxiety. Soldiers carry lucky objects into combat. Rabbits' feet, photographs, coins, letters. It doesn't make them bulletproof, but it makes them calmer. And in combat, calm means survival. The placebo effect proves that belief alone can change your brain chemistry, reduce pain, fight infection, even shrink tumors in some cases. Magic isn't real, but the belief in magic changes reality. Maybe that's why superstitions spread so successfully. Not because they're true, but because they're useful. We live in the most scientifically advanced era in human history. We've split the atom, sequenced the genome, put robots on Mars, and yet, tech executives still skip the 13th floor. Scientists still have lucky pens. Professional athletes perform elaborate rituals before every game. But we've also invented new superstitions, ones our ancestors never imagined. 54% of airline passengers perform a ritual before flying, touching the plane's exterior, sitting in specific seats, wearing specific clothes, saying specific prayers. Sports fans believe their behavior affects the game. Wearing the right jersey, sitting in the right chair, watching from the right location. If they break the ritual and their team loses, they feel personally responsible. Silicon Valley programmers have lucky coffee mugs. If they use a different mug, their code won't work. They know it's irrational. They do it anyway. People on dating apps develop superstitious swiping patterns. Swipe at specific times. Swipe in specific rhythms. Use specific opening lines. And when it works once, they're terrified to change it. Social media influencers have lucky posting times, lucky filters, lucky captions. They'll cancel posts if the vibes are off. And then there's money. Stock traders are more superstitious than medieval peasants. They wear specific ties on specific days, eat specific meals. Some won't make trades on certain dates or times. Cryptocurrency investors see patterns in randomness. They believe in lucky coins or cursed coins, on specific times to buy and sell based on numerology, astrology, or pure gut feeling. The market is chaos, but humans need it to be a pattern, because patterns can be controlled. Chaos cannot. The more advanced our technology becomes, the more superstitious our behavior seems to get. The more unstable the world feels, the more superstitious we become. 2020 saw a 400% increase in sales of evil eye jewelry, crystals, and protection amulets. When the world feels out of control, humans need rituals, even fake ones. Superstitions aren't relics of the past. They're tools for survival, and we're creating new ones every day. Superstitions aren't irrational. They're rooted in human evolution. Your ancestors who feared the unknown survived longer than those who didn't. Superstitions aren't magic. They're memory. Instructions passed down through generations, warning about real dangers, disguised as folklore so you'd remember them. Superstitions aren't dead. They're evolving, adapting to new fears, new uncertainties, new ways for humans to pretend they have control. But here's the question I want you to think about. What if our ancestors weren't trying to protect us from curses, but from forgetting? Avoid the latter, not because of bad luck, but because things fall. Fear Friday the 13th, not because it's cursed, but because it teaches you to be careful. Knock on wood, not to ward off evil, but to practice humility. We call our ancestors superstitious, irrational, primitive, but they survived plagues, famines, wars, and collapsing civilizations using these rituals. And we're dying of comfort. So the next time you break a mirror, or see a black cat, or walk under a ladder, don't ask if the superstition is real. Ask what your ancestors were trying to tell you, because some warnings shouldn't be forgotten. The superstitions explored in this documentary represent thousands of years of human fear, wisdom, and survival. While many have been distorted or commercialized over time, they all began as attempts to make sense of an uncertain world. Whether you believe in them or not, they're part of who we are as a species. And maybe that's not such a bad thing. Stay curious, stay skeptical, but maybe, knock on wood,